Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's that time of the month again, wrap up. So this was a very interesting month. Obviously, I tried to challenge myself to read paranormal horrors, paranormal thrillers, psychological thrillers, mysteries throughout the month of October for spooky season. And due to that, I read a lot more books than I was expecting. This is going to be a little bit tricky because this month feels like years, so I can't remember every single detail of every single book, but I have made my spread in my book journal already, so I kind of have all my ratings and stuff. So I don't need to tell you too much detail about the book. I've realized that because there are vlogs which I will try and link as we go along, so just check up in the cards. The stats aren't that interesting due to the fact that I only read one type of genre this entire month. For pages, I read 5,430 pages, which gives us roughly 175 pages a day, which is better than I usually do. I also read 16 books. However, I did DNF one, although I read up to 200 pages, so I'm still counting those pages towards my reading because yeah, I made it quite far in when I decided to give up. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start all the way from the beginning. I don't have all the books physically because a lot of them were library books, so they've already been returned. So I'll just pop pictures up on the screen. I hope you don't mind. Let's go ahead and get started. The first book we read this month was The Last Confession of Autumn Castley by Meredith Tate. This I gave a 3.75 to. I did enjoy the book. It was YA, so there's only so much it can give me, so I was very surprised that I did enjoy it. And it is about Autumn Castley. She kind of goes missing, and somehow due to her injury she's able to astral project, and she commissions her sister to help her out. Her sister can sense her but she cannot see her, so they kind of go through this journey together. When she is rescued or comes to at the end, her and her sister are reunited and they have like a much stronger bond than they did before. I found the story really interesting and really compelling, but it did have lulls in the book like most of the books did this month. But I think my expectations were really high because I love thrillers, so I think that kind of in my mind hindered my ratings and also hindered my reading. The following book in the same blog, which was All Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban. This I gave a 4-star to. I really enjoyed this one. It was like kind of, I've never seen it, I've never read it, but I know the premise of the book, which is one of us is lying, and it has that same feel to it. So we have 6 kids, high school kids from different social statuses. So there's a geek, there's a band geek, there is a valedictorian, there's a popular girl, there's 6 of them, and they come together for a dinner, which is meant to be a like, what is it called? A scholarship dinner. Things just go horribly wrong. They end up being locked up in that room with the temperatures rising. There's food on the table. They open up a cloche. There's a bomb and also an injection with apparently a deadly toxin in it, and they need to pick one to die. Obviously, tensions are high and people start acting, I guess, their true selves, or maybe outside of the realms of who they really are. But there's a huge plot twist in there and it got me. I really enjoyed it. Then I read it was more of a middle grade book, and it is called The Dark Inside by Rupert Willis, and it is about a 13-year-old boy whose mother passed away, and his stepfather is super abusive because he just doesn't have time for him and he didn't want this, and he blames the kid for the accident and how his mother died. So the kid's kind of just wandering around. There is a haunted house at the end of the lane, and he goes there sometimes just for a little bit of reprieve to get away from his stepdad. One day he goes there and he stumbles upon a vagrant there, and they kind of spark up this strange relationship. They find out that the vagrant has like a weird curse put upon him, so James takes it on himself to go ahead and help this guy lift the curse because he just doesn't want to be left with his stepdad. And they go on this entire journey. It's kind of whimsical, it is dark, there's gypsies in it, so it's a very like exciting journey that they go on. But because of it being middle grade, I just needed a little bit more substance. That the characters weren't fully fleshed out. It was middle grade. If I was 13 years old reading that, it was a nice introduction to fantasy, but unfortunately for my age, ripe age of 35, it just wasn't quite there. But I did think it was a cute book. I could recommend it for younger readers, and I did give it a 3-star, which isn't a bad rating at all. The next book I read was very interesting because it is by Stephen King. So this this was in my Stephen King video. I didn't realize that he wrote different genres. He's the king of horror, so I was expecting horror, but this was very surprising. I know the rating might seem low, but the book was 142 pages long. Honestly, if it had maybe even 100 more pages, I would have given it a 5-star. I really loved it. It is Elation. Did I say that correctly? I gave this a 3.5 star, but like I said, very interesting, very taboo. It is like a mystery thriller as it is described in like the genre, whatever, by Goodreads. But for me, it was more like a fantasy-esque, like a urban fantasy, but it was a short novella, like I said. It follows our main character, Scott, who is suffering from this weird disease or ailment where he's literally losing weight every single day. Like it starts off at like 2 pounds and 3 pounds and he's just losing weight at an alarming rate, but his physical form doesn't change. So when he gets on the scale, he sees the numbers disappear and he's the same. He wears the same size clothes, his mass is the same, everything is the same, but for some reason he loses a bunch of weight. He does have a little bit of a like tiff with his neighbors, or I think they're across the road, where their dogs keep shitting on his grass and he's like so over it because they keep denying it. So he ends up recording the dogs doing it, taking it to them, and it just causes this entire rivalry. But the woman across the street, they are lesbians. They live in like a really like reserved conservative neighborhood and everybody there is shunning them because they're openly lesbians. They don't care that they're lesbians, but the fact that they flaunt it all the time, it doesn't bode well with the village that they're in. So he kind of sticks up for them. He's doing all these things because he knows he's going to die because of this disease that he has. There's no way you can lose that much weight and live to tell the tale. I loved the story. I thought it was very, very interesting and I would 100% recommend. Obviously not a spooky book, but it's a very interesting concept and I ate it up. Next I read Finders Keepers, again by Stephen King, and unfortunately this is the one that I DNF'd. So it is part of like an interconnected series, the Mr. Mercedes series. So it is about a terrorist, I guess, and he mows down a bunch of people at a work fair, and these people, Finders Keepers, they are like private detectives, and anyway they end up putting him away in jail and he goes to an insane asylum. The book Finders Keepers carries on from Mr. Mercedes. But for me, it was just too long-winded. Nothing was happening. There was too much detail in it. I couldn't grasp it. So it kind of followed a different kind of storyline, but kind of still interconnected. And it followed a family who were part of the accident that happened with Mr. Mercedes. The father, he was disabled by this, lost his job, and his little kid stumbles upon a chest in just a random lane. Inside the chest is a bunch of books or manuscripts and then money. So he starts sending the money back to his parents to assist them because he thinks they're going to get divorced because they keep fighting. Eventually, the person who actually buried it there gets out of prison and he's like hell-bent on finding them. That's kind of how far I got when I decided to DNF. It was just honestly too much detail. But then the next book, which is The End of Watch, I gave this a 2.5 star to start off with, and that is the last book in that series, and it follows the agents who kind of caught Mr. Mercedes and he has it out for them. He got into like, not an accident, but when he was caught, one of the investigators had taken a sock that was full of like coins and stuff and bashed him on the head with it, and it caused a little bit of brain damage. So he's in a like psychiatric ward, but he's starting to get better because of a experimental trial, and no one knows this because he's still acting like he's in a catatonic state, but he's somehow figured out how to manipulate and hypnotize people and he's causing havoc. But again, as interesting as that storyline sounds, too much fluff. Like there was too much extra details that I didn't need to know. We got a look into the criminal Brady's mind and I found that unnecessary. We didn't need so much of a backstory of him. We just needed the story to hurry along. That's why we read thrillers and suspenseful books, because it's gotta happen. You can't wait 400 pages to get to the twist, in my opinion. The next book wasn't part of a vlog. This was just an audiobook that I listened to. I like to go on walks or my runs and listen to audiobooks. So this is The Last Party by A.R. Torre, which again I gave a 3-star to. You'll see there's a theme. I gave almost everything a 3-star in this because it was a passable book. I would recommend it. I enjoyed it at the time. It's nothing I will remember. Like right now I'm literally grasping at little bits of my memory. I like A.R. Torre. Like she kind of writes like Frida McFadden. It's not too in-depth. It's not too detailed. It's just a little story that you can latch onto, but it's not great writing. It's not the best writing. It is Kindle Unlimited, so that can tell you a bit about it. But this follows our main female character. Her name is Perla, and she's like this perfectionist, and she runs a household. She's very wealthy, and you know, everything needs to be done. But she's such a terrible person. She's not a good mother. She's very manipulative. Her husband's onto her. He knows that something's not right. She's obsessed with a serial killer. Absolutely obsessed with him. And he killed 3 girls at a sleepover, one of them being his daughter. She just follows this case, but the twist was very interesting. I kind of surmised that it might go that way, but it was crazy and I really enjoyed it. It was a good audiobook to listen to. It does have the bog standard narrator that all the audiobooks do have on Kindle Unlimited, but the story, I latched onto it and I really enjoyed it for my walks. Perla's a little bit of a psycho. Somehow, somewhere, she's actually connected to these murders, but yeah, very, very good. Could recommend. Very fast paced. Things happen fast. So really loved it. But like I said, no substance. The next book was my psychological thriller vlog. So I read The Book of You. So this is the highest rated book in this entire month that I read, because this has stuck with me and it's something that I'm passionate about, and I watch a lot of true crime. So you learn a lot of things. That's what I always tell my partner. Like, it teaches you what not to do and what to be careful of and what to look out for, in my opinion, because as a woman, I'm not generalizing here, but as a woman, even myself, I feel very unsafe outside and in the open. Like, you never know what can happen. But The Book of You, I gave 4.5 stars to, and it made my skin crawl. It had such accurate, well, in my opinion, from all my research that I do with true crime, it was an accurate depiction of stalking, and it follows the story of our main female character, Clarissa. She's a really nice girl. She's probably too nice, and she gets stalked by one of her colleagues at work called Raf. He knows her ex-partner because they worked in the same department at the university. They ended up breaking up and Raf had his eye on her, but he was stalking her, he drugged her, he manipulated her, and he manipulated the police because she went to the police and they wouldn't take it seriously, obviously, as they do. You need so much evidence in order to prove it. So she's just like saving all these things, she's sucking it up, she keeps passing out because she doesn't know what to do anymore, and she's absolutely terrified. And the plot twist in this was, yeah, very, very good, and it stuck with me. I originally gave it a 4-star, but after the end of the vlog, I thought about it and I was like, this book actually got to me and it had an impact on me. It doesn't deserve a 4-star, it deserves a 4.5. So really love this book, would recommend. It is by an author called Claire Kendall, never heard of her. And I got this book out the library thinking like, okay, you know, it's just gonna be another one of those like the next book I'm gonna talk about. But it was really, 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 really good, and I would recommend if you do like true crime. After that, I read Strangers by C.L. Taylor. This I gave a 3-star to as well, because it was just an okay book. It was kind of just honestly a day or a week in the life for 3 characters. So we had Gareth, Ursula, and what was the name? Alice, I think her name was. Anyway, we had 3 characters. They all kind of went through something in their lives and somehow their story is interconnected. Like Ursula, her partner died and she's developed kleptomania, but she just goes to this one shop all the time. And Alice, I think her name was Alice, she works at the store and she knows her and they call her like the gorilla thief or something like that. Alice starts dating, well, she goes on a bad date and it goes horribly wrong. The guy attacks her and actually assaults her. Someone saves her and they start dating, but weird things start happening and she's getting messages and people are saying stay away from this guy, and she's really, really freaked out. Her car gets vandalized. Like, it's weird. Also, Gareth, he works as a security guard in the mall where Alice works and where Ursula steals. So they're all interconnected and something happens with this stalker and they all end up in a situation, but it's kind of created a friendship between the 3 of them because they're kind of loners. So that was cool, and that's why I didn't rate it too much lower, but it was very mundane, very boring, nothing thrilling, nothing crazy. And it's scary because I have another book by C.L. Taylor, which I actually purchased myself. This was 270 rand, so not affordable. I don't know where this is gonna go. So I don't have much faith in her writing right now. It's just one book. Then, unfortunately, I read As Good as Dead. I was very, very excited for this book after A Good Girl, Bad Blood, which I absolutely loved. I gave it a 4.5 star. This disappointed a little bit as well. Again, it is a doorstopper, it was just too much. And I feel like Holly Jackson does that a lot. She adds in like a lot of filler chapters that really don't bring much to the story. It adds to the atmosphere and to characters, but it doesn't add anything specific to the story. So I felt like it just went on for too long and it didn't need to be 550 pages. So I ended up giving this a 3.7 star. As you know, well, hopefully you know, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, this is the final book. Pip in this book is really spiraling. She's turned to prescription drugs and she's not doing well in the head after what happened in the previous book. She starts getting stalked again, not again, but again because the other two books were about stalkers too. But she starts getting stalked and she decides to take this case on herself. She does go to the police to report it, but obviously they never believe you and they think it's in her head. But at the end, it's all connected to the very first case she did in the first book. So that's all I can really say because it is a sequel. I was very, very disappointed. I felt like it just went on and on and on. We didn't get a good epilogue. Like I just felt like it ended and I wasn't satisfied with that ending, and I think that could have pushed it up a little more, but it just kind of ended and we were like, okay, cool, that's a trilogy done with absolutely no resolve. Not the best. Then I read The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. This was one of her better books again. Like I was losing faith there because I tried to go back and read a couple of her other books like The Locked Door. Didn't enjoy that. One by One. Didn't enjoy that. So Housemaid is Watching. Didn't enjoy that. But then we got The Boyfriend and it brought it straight back up. It was straight in line with like The Housemaid's Secret, Never Lie. What was the other one that I liked? The Inmate. So it was in line with that, but obviously not great writing. I've never given her a 5-star because her writing is very surface level. But The Boyfriend follows our female character, and she is 35 years old and she is like literally losing her mind because she feels like she hasn't achieved anything in life. She's an accountant, she has no social life, she has no partner, and all her friends have moved on with their lives. They're all married, having babies, and she looks on Facebook and it enrages her. Due to this, she's a bit of a serial dater. She has two good friends that, one lives in her apartment building and the other one is dating her superintendent. Those are her two friends. She hangs out with them all the time. But when her one friend gets murdered, things start to spiral a little bit. She goes on this date and she gets assaulted as well and is saved by this mystery man. Everything is pointing in one direction, but when the plot twist came, I was bamboozled. I used this word in that video too, bamboozled, because Frida McFadden usually writes a really predictable twist and I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. 4 stars. Then I read You'd Look Better as a Ghost. So I was recommended this book by the shop assistant and Bargain Books. She couldn't shut up about this book, how good it was, how witty, how funny, and all this stuff. So I decided to pick it up. It was witty, but it wasn't that funny. There's a lot of dark humor. It's got very serious things in it. Like our main female character, her name's Claire. She is a serial killer, but she doesn't just kill anybody. She's like a vigilante. She kills people who have done wrong. Like a nurse had abused her father, offed him. Someone was caught like a peeping Tom, basically, offed him. So she's kind of like that. But then she goes to this grieving group because she's getting migraines and stuff like that. And she's just in a very dark place after her dad passes. Goes to a grieving group and there she meets people. One of the women just latches onto her and that just literally sends everything spiraling. Everything she's worked so hard to hide and conceal is now coming to the surface, and she doesn't want to be like revealed because she really does enjoy killing. So she gets blackmailed and there's a whole bunch of stuff that leads to more killing, but really good. I thought it was interesting. It was really good writing. I flew through this book. It was witty. It was sick, like twisted, but it was really fun. I would recommend if you like a more unserious mystery thriller. I didn't like that it didn't have a true plot line. Like there was nothing really happening. It was just kind of following this scenario through, but there was no real plot. There was no real plot twist, in my opinion. It was just like things being revealed in a story. But I did enjoy it and I gave this a 4 star. So that reflects. Next, I read The Haunted Hideout by Michelle Dory. And this was a paranormal horror, or described as a paranormal horror. It wasn't great because it was really short. I think it was like maybe 120 pages, I think. The story just wasn't fleshed out enough. So it's about a family who goes into witness protection and this house that they're put in is haunted and starts to fight back. But the depictions of ghosts and specters and all of that just wasn't realistic, but it still did spook me enough, so I gave it a 3 star. If the angles changed a bit, My battery died, so I had to change that out quickly, but we have 3 books left, and this is the more recent video, so the last one I did on Halloween. So we started off with The Deception of Harriet Fleet. I gave this a 3-star. Firstly, it's described as like more of a gothic period historical thriller mystery. It was very, very, very atmospheric. Like, I loved the depictions of the surroundings and the rooms and the people. Like, everything was very, very atmospheric and it had like this eerie vibe around it. But I didn't enjoy the actual story. Like, I just felt like it was too slow, and this happens to me a lot. I found like it was too slow and there's too much description to a point where I was like rolling my eyes and started to skim. So this follows our main female character. Her name is Harriet. She goes to a manor that belongs to the Wainwright family, but their family history is very, very tainted, very, very dark, and they have this daughter who is not all upstairs. She's not okay, and they need a governess for her because she's literally full of shenanigans. She self-harms, she goes on eating strikes, so they get her governess, so not to really teach her anything, but literally just to watch her. And then at night she has a night nurse. The family secrets are slowly being revealed, but Harriet has her own dark past. She's kind of entertaining herself with this family secrets instead of remembering her own, because she's literally running away from something. As more secrets do unfold, it is very interesting, but to get there, it took us a long, very, very long journey. It does also contain a romance, which I didn't expect, which was nice. It was a nice reprieve from everything else, but it was jumping around too much to points where I was like, okay, what is going on? As good as the writing was, as atmospheric as it was, that just the main storyline just wasn't for me. So that's why I gave it a 3-star. I would recommend if you want something like dark and eerie and like more like a cozy mystery, but for what I was looking for, not the best choice. I'm glad I read it, and I would definitely read something else from this author as well. It's Helen Scarlett. Really enjoyed the writing, but the story just wasn't enough for me. Then we moved on to Sleep Tight. This I also gave a 3-star to. It was borderline 2.5 stars. It's by, did I say C.S. Green? It's about basically sleep paralysis, and this guy attacks people in their sleep. One person's died and one was attempted, and they all belong to the same like sleep group. So they give each other tips, they tell each other about their sleep paralysis, and it's kind of just playground for this serial killer. Our main female character, Rose, she's a clairvoyant and she works for the FBI. So she's one of the investigators on the case. She keeps messing up because she doesn't want to be associated with her past, because she is a clairvoyant and her mom used to be like a fortune teller slash did readings for people. So she thought her mom was a fraud because she herself was seeing ghosts, but she wasn't sure that her mom really was, and she thought it was a big money-making scheme. So she's trying to run away from her past. It leads her straight into this dark, mysterious stuff, and she pretends not to like be interested. It's nonsense, it's this, but she gets an eerie feeling every time something about the case doesn't feel right, or she feels like they're in the wrong direction. All of that does sound interesting, but it moved at a snail's pace. We had 2 incidents which happened maybe in the first 50 pages. The rest of it is just them following leads that lead to nowhere and then getting onto other things. And she knows that these assumptions are wrong, but it was just too much back and forth, and ultimately it just dragged on for me. It was one of those books that just felt like they went on forever. It felt like it was 500 pages, but it was 300 pages. So that's the reason it was a 3-star. And also the ending, I think like the last 50 pages, I really did enjoy that. That's when like the paranormal element really came into play. I really, really, really ate that up. Other than that, I mean, I would recommend if you like James Patterson type S books, like this would be great for you. But for me, it's just not exactly what I enjoy in my thrillers. I don't like the long-winded investigations. Would recommend depending on your taste. And lastly, for the month, I read The Redwood Asylum by L.A. Detwiller, I can never say that. This is a paranormal horror again. It follows our main female character, Jessica, who works in a haunted, well, she's running from her past as well, and she ends up working at a haunted asylum. She knows that things are wrong. One of the patients like kind of just reels her into his story, giving her pictures. Then she starts seeing things like loads of ghosts. So she's actually being physically attacked. So it's like poltergeist activity, and she's determined to sort this thing out. She just really wants to get to the bottom of it, find out what happened, who is killing these people, why the ghosts are there, what this asylum is hiding, and it ends very badly for her, very, very, very badly for her. And I ended up giving that a 3-star. Again, it was 220 pages and it was moving at a snail's pace. Like 220 pages, so much more action could have packed into that, but instead it's her toying with her mind. Do I believe this? Don't I believe this? Is this happening? Isn't this happening? And I was like, girl, make up your mind, either leave the asylum or do your investigation, but what are you doing? What are you doing? That is everything I read in October. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you did anything for Halloween, what you dressed up as, what spooky books you read, or what fall themes book you read, because I'm in South Africa, so in the Southern Hemisphere, we currently are going into summer. So for me, it's really nice. 29 degrees Celsius today. Lovely. But yeah, I really enjoyed my month. It kind of just taught me what I do and don't like in thrillers and what kind of thrillers I need to avoid. So it was a learning experience. I wasn't all that scared, but I did enjoy getting so many books in, and I challenged myself and I read so many more books that I previously read, and I'm really happy with the progress I made. I have hit my Goodreads goal as well. I've exceeded it, so that's very exciting. That's it for me, guys. I really hope, like I said, that you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe and kill the bell icon, but click the bell icon for notifications every time I upload. Also, like I said, please do leave me a comment. I also do have a makeup channel if you want to see more of my content. But other than that, that's it from me, guys. I hope that you enjoyed your week, and yeah, good luck for the week ahead. See you all soon. Bye.